Good afternoon. This is my presentation on individual consulting for my site course, Organizational Consulting and Change at Liberty University. Hello and thank you for attending. The subjects I selected from modules 5 to 8 are as follows: leading performance, leadership perceptions, healthcare organizational culture, and measuring organizational performance. These subjects were chosen due to their significance and relevance to my experiences as well as insights. At first, I will clarify what they are and present research that encapsulates the subject in relation to an applied organizational context. Leadership performance. Let's begin there. So the performance of leaders is very important in any organization in terms of how successful they are or not. Karari and Kiyongo 2024 shared that effective leadership is based on these characteristics: courage, integrity, transparency of purpose. These qualities enable leaders to foster and promote organizational culture that is innovative, committed, and produces outstanding performance outcomes. Fitzsimmons went on to talk about enhancing leadership should conform to things such as support, networks, mentoring, training, and development, which falls along the line of systemic perspective. The recommendations about values, induction, management, standards, training, and appraisals are also important and praiseworthy. Fitzsimmons 2022 shared that, recommendation regarding leaders, their well-being, peer support, and creating opportunities for reflection on their emotional and psychological effects of their work can send a powerful message to employees, of course. Leaders can benefit from reflective practices that, improve their well-being, self-esteem, and organizational connections as well. Innovation and commitment in outstanding performance outcomes. Additionally, Fitzsimmons noted that the following: in an organizational context, a leader who has the backing of the organization to improve upon performance is likely to succeed, and this can boost the morale and performance of their team members. Undoubtedly, the characteristics of an organization's environment and prudent leadership are important for it to be successful and to also reach its objectives, according to Larrabee 2022. Now we turn to the biblical integration aspect. The integrating biblical principles can significantly change leadership performance. This is by recognizing the inherent dignity of employees and adopting leadership components and strategies that are rooted within biblical wisdom, according to Heyman 2012. Also, organizations can cultivate or promote work environments that are more holistic as well as compassionate. Now we will turn to leadership perceptions, and this is where leadership can be also effective when employees understand their leaders. The leaders aim to be understood accurately by followers, according to Jacobson and Anderson 2015. However, there are several reasons why leaders and employees might interpret leaders' words and actions differently, because of course, we don't perceive everything the same as individual people. So then leaders might communicate poorly or even behave in ways that contradict their messages or act ambiguously, according to Ann 2022 and colleagues. Based on research conducted by Ann and colleagues 2022, they found that there is an indication that public organizations could employ leadership training as a method to align perspectives on leadership. Additional leadership perceptions by Ann and colleagues 2022. Leadership Leadership perceptions can be aligned through follower other assessments, which can also be facilitated by leadership training, as well as an illustration that employees can reflect modifications in leadership behaviors via their evaluations. Leadership training programs are typically customized to improve leaders' capacity to engage in specific types of leadership behaviors. Next, we have where the results of the study by Seidel, Fernandez, and Perry 2016 talk about there can be real changes in leadership behaviors as a result of leadership training. So if leaders are trained, behaviors can definitely change, and hopefully for the better, hopefully positive changes. Farrell 2025 went on to talk about examining the relationship between gender and personality traits and the perceptions of what effective leadership looks like in terms of being self-organized in global virtual teams. The significant findings were made up of colleagues in global virtual teams' perception of women as more effective leaders than men, and that women's self-evaluations of themselves, of their leadership effectiveness, can differ less from those of their teammates. Farrell and colleagues 2025 talked about extroversion and conscientiousness having a positive impact on things like peer evaluations as well as perceived leadership effectiveness. The two studies show that the professional national cultural values do not reliably predict perceived leadership effectiveness. Research featured in the Journal of Biblical Perspectives talked about leadership demonstrating that biblical texts offer nuanced insights into leadership dynamics. And this is where, particularly through examining historical figures such as King David and the leaders of Judean kingdom, according to Wiltshire 2011. The historical context also showed that there was a profound understanding of challenges within leadership that included ethical dilemmas and the intricate relationship between individual characters and how effective organizations were. Healthcare organizational culture now we continue with, as stated by Mannion and Davies, 2018. The organizational culture within healthcare organizations represents the shared methods that included thinking, feeling, as well as behaving. And it was advised that within these organizations, they're composed of different subcultures, which can act as catalysts for change or even get in the way of quality improvement initiatives. There's also an increase in terms of the amount of evidence links culture and quality, but there are also a need for more nuanced as well as sophisticated understandings of the cultural dynamics. Thus, culture is identified as a primary culprit within healthcare scandals, but with culture reform, if it's considered to be essential for addressing deficiencies, can also find simplistic diagnoses and solutions that are lacking in depth and specificity. So if you're gonna, include solutions, they have to be things that are worthwhile, that are not shallow, and that are specific to the issues and problems that are going on. Now we have where investigating the different forms of OC found in healthcare, organizational culture, of course, settings is important due to the intricate characteristics of hospitals, collaborating with interpersonal professionals, as well as a variety of the medical services that are offered within that setting, according to Catania and colleagues 2020. T-shirt 2024 and colleagues stated that organizations often try to ensure that work units have a shared culture, try to unify things and uniform things. But it's not always appropriate in terms of the multidisciplinary context of healthcare, which can be uncertain at times. Thus, it varies in the perception of culture across broad health systems, which may influence the delivery of high quality care as well as mitigating of job related stress, which, and we know jobs have stress. T-Shirt and Colleagues 2024 went on to talk about the variations that were present in how culture was perceived within the healthcare system and how it may influence the delivery of high quality care and also the reduction of job stress. Thus, the article challenges the widely held belief in healthcare that organizational culture could be uniformed in terms of across all members involved, right? That is the issue at hand. Also, it suggests that cultural diversity may be a valuable resource. I think it is. I think it definitely is a valuable resource. And the study went on to evaluate the content, which is, how culture is perceived, as well as the structure, diversity perceptions, and it used competing values framework within a large healthcare system within the U.S. Additionally, as stated by Mutani and colleagues 2022, a positive organizational culture is closely linked when it comes to reducing the work-related stress level among nurses. So if you have a close culture, this can help with stress levels, and it was shown to be the case when it came to nurses. And this finding underscores the importance of how creating work environments that are supportive, transparent, and collaborative, and that also can acknowledge and address the unique challenges faced by these healthcare professionals, which is a lot of challenges that they face. Finally, the biblical integration of this section talks about cultural competence is another vital facet, important facet of biblical integration within healthcare. And the Joint Commission emphasized the importance of respecting patients' spiritual beliefs, religious values, a promotion of holistic care, and that it acknowledges diversity. And that was by Sweetheart and Colleagues 2023. Additionally, by incorporating biblical principles of compassion, dignity, and of course respect, there was a chance that healthcare organizations could develop a more comprehensive, inclusive, of course, patient-centered, focusing on the patient's care models that extend way beyond traditional medical paradigms or ways of doing things. Now we'll turn to measuring organizational performance. And in terms of this, as per research by Farouk and colleagues 2020, entrepreneurial orientation, or EO, is viewed as being very important as an organizational resource, and it definitely factors into having a outstanding organizational performance. But some research studies challenges this notion and show that there's a negative correlation between EO and OP. However, this discrepancy may come from contingent therapeutic approaches, which shares that for a strategic fit to be realized or recognized, that organizations have to, have strategies that align with several other factors. It just can't be a one-size-fit-all or a one way to do things going forward. Additionally, a study by Farouk and colleagues 2020 talked about the EO and CSR significantly affecting OP directly. Also, additionally, results show that CSR acts as a crucial mediator in terms of it being very important in terms of the relationship between EO and OP in both countries that were assessed. Additionally, this study shows that certain strategic measures such as EO and CSR should be analyzed together, brought together in terms of trying to find a strategic measure that will work in terms of gaining through understanding of OP. Also, there was a lot of research that talked about investigations that have put forth wide range of exciting and requirement arguments that convinced you to convince them to demonstrate how positive EO and OP were together. And this was noted by Putnin and Saka 2019, Shirokova and colleagues as well for 2016. Now, also by Farouk and colleagues 2020, the EO is, focused on the concept of creating knowledge that is new, that improves overall organizational performance. And that is the goal, right? To improve upon how the organization is performing currently. Always room to grow and get better. And that this allows for an organization to adapt a proactive stance when it comes to future needs by utilizing resources that they already have. So by using the resources that they already have, they can improve upon. And then I'm sure, add other resources that will make things run smoother. But yeah, definitely using what you have first. Thus, a study by Farouk found that in this work, they defined EO as the approaches as well as the processes, along with philosophies that can be adapted by senior management. And this is to satisfy what future demands, market demands may be. So, being flexible as well. And they concluded the study. In conclusion, studies have demonstrated or showed that EO can have a positive influence when it comes to the business performances of SMEs and large companies across different sectors. So within different organizations, different areas, and this was shared by Fellenhofer and colleagues 2016 and Shan and colleagues 2016 as well. And here the biblical integration talks about evaluating organizational performance, how they performed, by using a biblical lens that offered a unique and thorough approach in that, the understanding of workplace effectiveness and employee involvement, getting to understand it through the biblical lens. Additionally, there is a benefit to integrate biblical principles into how organization performs. I think that can only improve your organization by having biblical principles in there. It gives you a blueprint of, doing good for others and reinforcing those items. Additionally, researchers are increasingly acknowledging that there's a potential of spiritual values, which is a good thing, that can enhance the workplace and how the outcomes are, which I'm sure will be positive outcomes once biblical principles are involved. And this can also have a profound and positive influence on top of the organizational culture by integrating biblical principles. And this was shared by Van Nijinius, 2016. Now, in terms of applying to organizational setting, we have leadership performance. And this is where a good leader demonstrates through actions, right? And this shows you and demonstrates to you that actions definitely speak louder than words. I mean, words are just words. If the actions are not there to push forward, to make you believe what's happening, to make you feel what's happening, if a leader isn't demonstrating, leading by example, it'll be hard to, take them seriously. It'll be hard to follow them. So if a leader is performing in the way they say that they would, which we're saying and hoping for positive leadership, inclusivity, with ideas from employees, that leader can take that organization a long way, and positive outcomes would be there. Next, we have leadership perceptions, which is to be approachable within the organization as far as staff. Staff should be able to approach the leader. Sharing experiences and personal challenges and attending trainings alongside staff is also helpful as well. And this allows for the leader to engage actively with the staff within the organization, get to know them and stuff in these ways. And also, the leader can focus on more than just profit margins. So it can be all about the bottom line. In getting to know some of the people in your organization, it can help the leader to lead more effectively. It can help them to become personable, approachable to these employees, and they really will get a feel and a sense of what's happening within their own organization if they were to be approachable to their staff. And within healthcare organizational culture, now here's where we have where they can organize culture days, learn from one another's culture, share meals, have staff showcase their culture in those ways, even dressing up in your cultural wear. That is a great way to draw people in and to also help people to get to know each other. All good things, all positive things. And then next we have measuring organizational performance at the end. And this is where leaders can assess needs and also aim to enhance and develop goals. So in that realm, leaders can, find out what's going on, what's needed, what's missing from those who are on the ground doing the work. And this can definitely enhance and develop goals and objectives, and where they can reach towards things that will definitely work out as far as what's happening within their organization, and also building on improving. Well, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. The other few slides are the references, and I thank you so much for your time and attention, and I hope that you have a great day. Thank you.